I am Kush and today I would be explaining functions. So what exactly is a function? So a function can be imagined as a machine or a process which takes in an input and gives an output where the input and output are numbers. So for example, if you have an input of let us say 2, it would give an output of let us say 4. So it has a definite input and it has a definite output. Different functions can have different inputs or different outputs for the same input. We would look into that soon. Before that, let us just look at a simple function. So over here, this is known as a Cartesian coordinate. Over here, there are two axes. One is the x-axis and one is the y-axis. The x-axis can be interpreted as the input axis, as these are the numbers that you put into the function, and the y-axis represents the numbers which the function returns back to you. It is the output axis. So for example, if you input the value of 0 into the function, it would give an output value of 1. So this can be read at the place where the imaginary line above 0 intersects with the function's line. So over here we can see that it intersects at 1. Similarly, if we look at the input value of let us say 0.2, which is over here, and we draw an imaginary straight line, it would intersect the function's line at about 1.2. So that is why this point is also another point, another output of the function. Similarly, all of the entire line that we can see here, these all represents different input and output pairs. So for example, this pair over here, it has an input value of -1 and an output value of 0. So now we come to domain and range. So domain is basically the set of values which act as a valid input. So a function in essence is a mathematical operation. For example, we have this function x minus 3 divided by x minus 3. So the x is the input value. This could be substituted with any number. So for example, if I have let's say 10, so the input is 10, then my output would be 10 minus 3, that's 7, divided by 10 minus 3, that's also 7. 7 upon 7, that's 1. So my output would be 1. So over here 10 works as a valid input, 0 would work as a valid input, but 3 won't work as a valid input, because if you put 3 in the denominator, you would get the result as 0, and if the denominator is 0, then the function becomes undefined. That is why the domain of this particular function is all the real numbers except 3. Similarly, there is another thing which is known as range, which is the set of values which exist in the output. In this case, the range is 1 because that's the only value which the function outputs. Because no matter what you put as x except 3, the top and bottom, the numerator and denominator would be equal in magnitude. That is why the function's output would always be 1. That's why the range is 1. Similarly, this is another function, the square root of x. Over here, we cannot have negative numbers because the square root of negative numbers cannot be shown on a normal Cartesian coordinate, as it does not allow for real imaginary numbers or complex numbers. So that is why the domain is all positive integers. Similarly, the range is also all positive integers, as the result of square rooting a number can never be negative. So that is why the domain and range is all positive integers. You can also see over here that the graph doesn't extend into the negative segment, which is either of these three sectors. Now if we look at the last example, that is x square. Over here the domain is all real numbers. Any number can be squared, be it negative, 0 or positive. But the range is all positive integers, as squaring a number can never result in a negative number. So that is why the range is all positive integers. So now we will look at some types of functions. These are very basic type of functions: linear, quadratic, cubic and reciprocal. And there are more, but let us look into a few of them. So the first one is a linear function. A linear function is quite straightforward. It is simply a straight line. In this case, this is a special kind of straight line as it is passing through the center. That is this point where the x and y axis intersect. A feature of this is that it has a constant gradient, which means that it has a constant slope throughout. If you look at any of these other functions, these do not have a constant slope. So let us move on to the next one, which is a quadratic. A quadratic is a special type of function as it has one turning point. That is, it changes direction at one point, which over here is again at the origin or the 0, 0 point. The next type of function you look at is the cubic function. In the cubic function, there are two turning points. It is not very visible over here, but if we go back, we can see this is another example of a cubic function and there are two distinct turning points. And the last function that we will look at today is the reciprocal function. The reciprocal function is a type of a function which is made when the input value is put in the denominator. For example, this is the graph of 1 upon x. So over here, x, which is our input, is in the denominator. It is also possible that it may be in the numerator, but then the numerator and denominator have to be different in magnitude. For this example, it is 1 upon x. Okay, now we will look at some examples of function notation. The first example is a classic example, that is f bracket x. This is read as f of x, and this whole thing would be read as f of x equals to x square plus x plus 3. This is quite nice because over here we can look at what is the independent variable, which is x in this case, as it is the one present in the bracket. Over here, f is just a common letter that we use. In fact, anything can be used. Some common ones include g of x and h of x, but it isn't necessary. Another example is, another way of writing is this kind of notation, f colon x and an arrow and then the function. So this is read as the function that pairs x with 10 minus x. So these are the two common ways in which we write functions. In some cases also, this can be replaced by y. So for example, y equals to 10 minus x because the output value can also be represented by y. Now let us look at something which is known as an inverse. So over here I have this straight line and this is our function. Now the function has something else which is known as an inverse. So what an inverse is, it simply does the opposite of what the function does. So for example, if we input a value of 0 into the function, it gives an output value of 4. If we put an input value of 4 into the inverse, it gives an output value of 0. Similarly, if I give an input value of 2 into the function, it gives an output of 10. If I give an output of 10 into the inverse, it gives it. If I give an input of 10 into the inverse, it gives me an output of 2. So for example, if f of x is 2x plus 2, f dash or the inverse would equal to 0.5x minus 1. So f of 3 equals to 8 and f dash of 8 equals to 3. So for example, if I have f of x equals to 2x plus 2, then f inverse of x would equal to 0.5x minus 1. So if f of 3 equals to 8, then f inverse of 8 equals to 3. So as you can see, the input is 3 and the output is 8 for the function. For the inverse, it inverses. The input is 8 and the output is 3. Also, another property that we should know is that if you make a composite function of the inverse inside the function, you would get x as the output. So basically, if you take a number do the inverse function on it, or you do the normal function on it, and then you reverse it, you will get that number back. This is just a formal way of writing what we have done earlier. Now, one thing that is important to know is that not all functions have inverses. So for example, f of x equals to x squared. Now f of 2 equals to 4, but f of minus 2 also equals to 4. The inverse of f of x is technically square root of x. But if we take the square root of 4, we get 2, which is the principal root. We do not get minus 2, but minus 2 is also a valid input which has the same output as 2. That is why x square doesn't have an inverse. So now we will look at some applications of functions. The first one is modeling and simulations. So for example, if you want to make a certain model, then it would be helpful to make a function which will take in the different variables and give you the correct output for that. So such functions and often multi-variable functions are used in modeling different kind of things in physics. For example, like if you want to model how a machine would work, then you could alter the different conditions with the help of different variables and functions, and then find the optimal output. Second one is compound interest. So compound interest has a particular function, and using that you can easily find out how much money you would earn or how much your car would depreciate over a certain time, given you have a few variables. The third one is optimization and efficiency. This is similar to modeling and simulations, but functions help you find the optimal way or optimal path to achieve a process. For example, if you want to find the best shape in order to hold, let's say, 1 liter of liquid, you could make a function which models different sizes of containers, and then you can differentiate it, a process which would come later into functions, and you can find the optimal size wherein you would use the least amount of material, but you would maximize on the amount of liquid it can hold. Thank you, that is all. So the template was made using SlidesGo with graphics and icons taken from FreePic and Flaticon. Thank you.